performances.
But
As good as anything anyone's doing.
But there was something else. But there was something else. And this was the lightning in the bottle aspect.
History.
Was the fact that there was this moment in the film. Well, this as the movie's going on, at the beginning, we made a big point about. Most of the movie, it's Nazi, Nazi, Nazi. But in Aldo's speech at the beginning, it's the German will fear us, and we will do this to the German, we will do that to the German.
I did look around a couple times.
No, there's a moment where you're kind of cringing as you're sitting in a room full of Germans as it's going on. But you have to realize something. When it comes to World War II movies, Germans are used to cringing, all right? That is their constant state of being. They are used to watching these movies through the eyes of guilt, all right? And that is always how it is. Well, becomes this moment in the film where the laughs kind of start, and then they kind of keep going, and they keep going, and then all of a sudden you actually had a German audience thinking to themselves, wait a minute, I'm actually watching a World War II movie that I'm allowed to enjoy. I'm actually allowed to laugh at this. I'm actually allowed to enjoy this movie. I'm actually not looking through eyes of guilt. I'm actually into this story. And it ended up being a very liberating thing for the theater.
So you got to imagine you got a couple of generations that are living with the shame of their nation that they didn't have anything to do with. They were born into it, and they have to carry it in some way.
I mean, if anyone has bringing down the Third Reich fantasies, it's the last couple of generations of Germans. And just even looking at the reality of it, think about any of the German actors in my movie. Almost every single one of the males, man, they've put on a Nazi uniform before. If you're a German actor, at some point in time, you're going to play a Nazi, or a couple of them, or three of them, or five of them.
Except for Till.
Except for Till. This was the first time he actually put on a Nazi uniform because he knew he got to kill Nazis.
When we had the read-through, it was the German actors having the most fun on it. And again, I think it's because they got to tap dance on this thing they've been carrying around, and it felt the same. It felt the same thing through the screening.
One of the things I figure has got to appeal to you about this is that it's really an ensemble piece. I mean,
it's absolutely an ensemble piece, yeah.
And that the idea, because you've done a lot of that stuff that I think you're really great in these ensemble pieces, that you can sort of step back and realize it's got to be engaging for you to be a part of a cast and not just running the whole show or being dependent on the whole show.
I do like that about. You'll see right down to the day player. Everyone's got something going on in this, and and they have their own backstory too. And
Herman number 3 is good.
Herman number 3, but which is not usually the case. Usually the peripheral actors are sometimes there ungloriously to support who's ever in the close up. And there are people who make me laugh who are just there for one scene. Who's really got something going on. Just great stuff. Now I forgot. I wandered off again.
But you're talking about the whole ensemble aspect of it, and that's the thing that everything.
Oh yes, but I'm not looking necessarily for either. It's just at the end of the day, it's most important to me the company you keep.
It's about the life experience.
Yeah, really.
But this is, you mean when you met with him, because I remember you were going over, you were saying, I'm going to see Brett in a couple of days. What? I'm sorry, what?
That was just protocol. I was already in. Just an excuse to go drink.
Well, one of the things that was actually funny is, I'm not friends with that many agents, but I'm actually friends with his agent, because his agent is also Uma Thurman's agent. I've known him for a long time. And I had another movie that I was thinking about Brad for, and then he was saying, no, Brett can't do it. And well, if I were just to meet him, no, I can't let you guys in the room together unless he can do it, because you guys are gonna fall in love and he can't do it, and so it's just gonna screw you guys both up. So just don't even get in the room until this relationship can happen.
Did you feel the same way too? That you wanted to wait until that moment when you knew what you were gonna get?
Yeah, but it's also selfish reasons as well, because a Tarantino character, we all want to get one of those, and there's a lot of strong actors out there, and I don't think it's about I'm going to find something for us.
Mm-hmm.
No. I think it's if the two shall meet, then good for both of us.
Yeah. Look, it literally is a situation. If you'd asked me 3 years ago, would you like to work with Brad Pitt? I'd say, hell yeah, of course I would. But it don't work like that. It's got to be the character. It as Bridget says, the fagua is the fagua. The character is the character, and the thing is, why it is special when I work with the actors that I work is it is a meeting of actor and character, and so I want everyone to be a home run, and frankly, I created the character, so I'm really damn precious about it. And what will happen is, I come up with a character and I think, oh, this is going to be perfect. Robert Forster would be wonderful.
It was wonderful.
I don't have to guess. Am I going to get Robert Forster? I will probably get him unless he morally objects to the piece of material. I decide that I actually want Brad for this movie about halfway into the script. It's like my first actually start thinking about, well, who could play this character? All right, and I go, oh, well, Brad would be wonderful. So then I just keep writing, and then I'm like, okay, now I can't imagine anybody else but him. And okay, so not only is he the most in-demand dude, all right, you know,
For hillbillies.
yeah,
We're
out
playing
there,
hillbillies.
And stoners.
and stoners. And the thing is, you know,
Actually, no.
not only is he so in demand, you know, it also is like I don't even have the situation where I can wait for him. I need to go right away, all right, and like that's just a perfect storm of no. I thought.
That's right.
And so literally, I called up his agent. Well, like 3 weeks away from finishing the script. I go, look, here's the deal. I want to do this. I think this would be the perfect part for Brad. I think this is the one that we should do together. Okay, tell me the bad news. Because I had to figure he had 3 movies in advance, and then he goes, "No,
It don't work that way.
I know that's what I
clean. Keep
admired. I
it
mean,
so
I
clean.
admire that about you.
No, that's from experience. I learned because I'd stack them up, and by the time I got done with one, this thing that I'd signed up for a year ago was no longer of interest. Really, you know, you find yourself in a different place, and you have other interests, and it's better. The work's going to be better if you. I
So it
think
means
if
you're really
you take
responding
them
to things as they come to
if
you.
You take them as they come, yeah, and you try to create your own things too, but.
You know, and it's also the thing where, you know, it's like, well, actually, the thing is where Brad's at in his career right now is, you know, he wants to work with talented artists that stimulate him. Well, he's coming off of Terrence Malick, he's coming off the Coen brothers, he's coming off of David Fincher. Oh, that sounds great. And then he's like, and actually, he's not booked up in advance, and actually, the sooner the better would be Brad's situation right now.
Daddy's got to work.
But obviously, your curiosity is aroused by people like Fincher and Terry Malick.
Yeah, I listen. At the end of the day, it's the director's medium. It starts with the director and ends with the director. He has the ultimate stamp on the story, and we get to go so far. But one, I'm savvy enough to know if I have the opportunity, I want to put myself in those hands. But also, I'm looking for someone with an interesting point of view and a strong voice, and you know, that certainly would sum up the man sitting to my left.
Well, he was very sweet when we had our big discussion about it, about the movie, because he didn't quite know about the ending. He had questions. He had a question. All right.
Yeah, absolutely, I did.
But the thing about the way he prefaced it was very funny. He goes, and so no, so we hadn't talked around it. We just eventually got to the point. All right, and we already liked each other. We were already libased a little bit. All right, had a little rosé in us, a couple balls. And so the question mark came. So he goes, so look, I have to ask you about the ending. Oh, by the way, I'm going to do it, so don't even worry about that. All right, so now about this ending. I'm in. So that's not a sales pitch.
No, then he was curious. Listen, I like a bit of history. I guess a little history buff.
But what's your question about the end of that?
Well, we're not actually.
We don't want to say it out loud, but there is a point in the movie where history went this way and we go another way.
We do have our way with history.
Yeah.
Is that true? Because it seemed all new to me. I didn't know this part of German
I'll
history.
tell you something. But what I did learn is that you were so well studied in the war, in all aspects of the war, and the characters and different sides and where they were at each point in the war, that it was all based, just like the languages itself and the use of language in the film.
And the language becomes a character.
That actually informed, it was actually well researched. I found Quentin actually far more knowledgeable about the war than I did. And then to take those leaps, since it was based in reality, there felt like great room for it. My question was about tone, really. And it took me, I remember waking up about 3 weeks later and going, oh, I know what the bastard wants to do with this. I get this now. We're gonna have a good old time. And it is. It's that rewarding, you know.
And he was funny because he showed up on the set
without spoiling the visual. I mean, come on, come on.
He showed up on set. He goes, you know about the question I had? I've got the old time religion on it now.
Inglourious Bastards, where even history gets bastardized.
Yeah, right.
I just feel like you're seeing something like that where it's also worked, it's also intricate. You know, it's got to make you think, well, how's this going to play out? I want to be in this movie just to see how it plays out.
Well, I mean, to me, as far as like the structure of the piece is concerned, it's like it's structured around three characters. You know, the first chapter is the introduction of Londa. All right. The second chapter is the introduction of Aldo and the Bastards, and the third chapter is not the introduction of Shoshana, but setting her up. So they are our three lead characters, and they have three separate stories going on. Now, from chapter 4 to chapter 5, now it's the adventure film. And it just goes all the way, and the characters start overlapping, and this happens and that happens. But, you know, I am basically structuring the whole first half of the movie with a chapter each for my three leads. And then it's just watching them commingle.
You know, we're used to the normal screenplay, which works in 3 acts, and it's usually in succession of events, and they're all connected in some way. This worked more like a novel in the sense that it was 5 distinct chapters, and one chapter would immensely focus on the detail of a moment, and draw and let that moment breathe, and study it, and then we would jump through time. There'd be big gaps in time. We move on to the next section. It was like when a painter paints just the bends in a figure, but when it's all together, the whole figure is there. And I was really intrigued that it could work in that kind of structure.
Because that whole sort of time thing, you almost find yourself wondering what happened to these people, because time, there are these big gaps that you talk about.
Well, like for instance, in the case of Shoshana's character, in the script, I wrote a sequence that I didn't put in the movie that lays out a little bit more how she got involved with the cinema and gives you an idea how she survived from 1941 to 1944. Because I felt in the script you needed it, or else you'd be, well, what happened? How did this happen? But in the movie, I felt you didn't need it. You know, there's certain things you just don't need when it comes to storytelling, when you're dealing with pictures as opposed to words. And then not only did I not feel that we needed it, I don't even want to include any of that scene, even though it was a very good scene. I don't want to include any of it on the DVD or in anything on it anymore, for the simple fact that I don't want the audience to know what happened to her from 1941 to 1944. I want you to decide. That's like a whole other movie. And if I can't show the whole movie, I don't even want to show a scene of it. I want the audience to figure out how she survived. How did she get this cinema?
But if there's a thing that we come to expect in the Quentin Tarantino movie, it's that things aren't over-explained. You know that thing you get in a movie where somebody says, this is who I am, this is what I'm going to do, then they do it, and then at the end of the movie they say, this is who I am, this is what I did.
Yeah.
Knock it out.
Yeah.
Hits a car window.
Or they have the whole movie where, like, there's a secondary character throughout the whole film, and the only reason he's there is for the hero to explain to the audience via him everything